Okay, so you guys sent in a ton of stuff about AI this week. Research papers, announcements, new models, like a lot.
Yeah, it's really exploding right now. There's so much happening.
Yeah, and it's tough to keep up with it all. So today we're going to try to do a deep dive into everything without getting too lost in the weeds.
That's good.
Um, so you flagged this MBTR paper, and it had some pretty interesting findings about like how fast AI is actually improving at completing tasks.
Right, yeah. And it found that like since 2019, AI's ability to complete tasks has been doubling every 7 months or so.
Wow, every 7 months.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And that's just the average, the pace is actually accelerating.
So like what does that mean in practical terms? Like if we look at a specific model, how long does it take to do something?
Well, the paper uses Claude 3.7 Sonnet as a benchmark, and right now it has like a 50% chance of completing a task in about 50 minutes.
Okay, so that's like already pretty impressive. But where does this go? Like, what are the projections based on this trend?
Well, they think that by 2028, we could see AI reaching a level of autonomy that's comparable to like a day's worth of human work.
A whole day.
Yeah. And then by like late 2029, maybe even a month's worth.
Wow, that's a lot faster than I think most people realize.
Definitely. And it's driven by a lot of factors like advancements in the models themselves, but also the hardware and software that they run on.
Yeah, speaking of new models, you sent me a bunch of stuff about NVIDIA, and it seems like they're doing way more than just graphics cards these days.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like they've got Cosmos Transfer 1, which can like generate these realistic virtual
And
environments.
that's useful for like gaming and simulations and stuff, right?
Exactly. And then there's GR000TN1 to B, which is all about enabling reasoning and like humanoid robots.
Robots that can think like us.
Well, sort of. It's more about giving them the ability to understand and interact with the world in a more sophisticated way.
And on top of that, they have the Nemotron series, which offers all these open source foundational models.
It's impressive how much they're doing across like all these different areas of AI.
Yeah, it's not just NVIDIA though, right? Like there are all these other companies making huge strides.
Absolutely. Like Tencent has this Hunyuan 3D 2.0 model, which is all about speeding up 3D model generation.
So that's like for designing products, architecture, video games, all that stuff.
Exactly. And it's supposed to be like 30 times faster than previous methods.
Wow, that's a game changer.
And then there's Canopy Labs and their Orpheus 3B model, which is focused on text to speech with voice cloning.
So like realistic sounding AI voices.
Yeah, and they're getting pretty good at it too. Like it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference between real voices and AI generated ones.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. It's kind of freaky.
Yeah. But it also opens up a lot of possibilities for things like accessibility and entertainment.
True.
Uh,
And we can't forget about Microsoft and their 5-4 multimodal model, which can process text, images, and speech all at the same time.
yeah, that's a big trend right now, these models that can handle multiple types of data.
Makes them much more versatile.
Exactly. And it's not just about the big, flashy models either. Like, there are also important contributions to the underlying methodologies.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, like ByteDance has this open source reinforcement learning method called DAPO.
Okay. And reinforcement learning is like uh, basically teaching AI to learn through trial and error.
Right. Exactly. It's a really powerful technique, and having more open source tools like this is super important for the development of the field.
Yeah, it lowers the barrier to entry for researchers and developers.
And speaking of tools, there have been some major updates to LangChain.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Like their LangGraph Studio now has these updates for prompt engineering.
Yeah, which makes it a lot easier to like fine tune the performance of language models.
And they've got that LinkedIn text to SQL bot, which was built using LangChain, right?
Right. It's a good example of how these tools are being used in like real world applications.
And Hugging Face is getting in on the action too with their new course on building agents with Llama Index.
Yeah, there's definitely a growing ecosystem of tools and resources for AI development, which is great to see.
Yeah, it's becoming more accessible to people without like a PhD in computer science.
Definitely, like Gemma, for example, has these new tools for usage and fine tuning.
That's Google's open model, right?
Yep. And they've also got these updates to AutoQuant for optimizing the GGUF versions of the model.
So it's like faster and more efficient to run.
Yeah, and then you've got things like Canvas UX, which is becoming like a standard way to interact with language models on documents.
So it's like a more intuitive interface.
Exactly. It's all about making AI more user-friendly.
And this isn't just like a bunch of companies working in silos, right? There's a lot of collaboration happening.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you've got Perplexity and NVIDIA teaming up to do inference on the Blackwell architecture. architecture using Dynamo.
And Google's expanding their collaboration with NVIDIA too.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see these big players working together.
And then you've got events like that Inference Night, hosted by VLLM and Ollama at Y Combinator.
With Unsloth joining a future event in San Francisco.
Yeah, it shows how active and collaborative the AI community is.
Definitely, it's a really exciting time to be involved in the field.
But with all this progress, there's also a lot of uncertainty, right? Like, what's coming next?
Yeah, there are always rumors and speculation flying around.
Like that one about Llama 4 potentially launching with a multimodal version and a huge context window next month.
Yeah, but there's also talk of potential delays because they're having trouble getting the performance they want.
So it's like a constant race to push the limits of what's possible.
And it's not just about the technical challenges either. There are also a lot of open questions about the implications of all this progress.
Like ethical considerations and stuff.
Right, like there's a lot of debate about the potential for AI companionships and whether that's a good thing or not.
And concerns about censorship in AI models.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of skepticism about these really large context windows, like whether they're actually useful in practice.
And the future of companies that are heavily reliant on APIs from the big AI labs is a big question mark.
Especially when it comes to their long-term data strategies.
And on a more technical level, there are some users reporting issues with vision support in the current version of the Transformers library.
Yeah, potentially when they're doing Clora fine-tuning of Gemma 3.
So it's like, even with all these advancements, there are still bugs and challenges to overcome.
Absolutely. AI development is a constant process of iteration and improvement.
So to sum it all up, we're seeing really rapid advancements across the board in AI.
From the fundamental capabilities of the models to the tools that are being developed and the collaborations that are driving innovation.
And it's all happening much faster than most people realize.
Which brings us back to that METR paper and their predictions about accelerating progress.
Yeah, it's clear that we're on an exponential curve here.
And staying informed means understanding how all these different pieces fit together.
The research, the new models, the developer tools, the industry collaborations, it's all interconnected.
And it's moving incredibly fast. So I guess the question is, are you ready for the future? Because it's coming whether we're ready or not.
There's a lot to think about, that's for sure.
It is, and here's something else to consider. Given this pace of development, what long-held assumptions about technology's role in society might we need to completely reevaluate in the next few years?
Yeah, what fundamental beliefs might we need to let go of?
Food for thought.
Definitely.
Until next time.
See ya.